Transform yourself for a better tomorrow through our videos. Does soul really exist? We know that this universe is full of material and we are part of it. Our physical body and fine frame work like prana, mind and intellect are also made out of subtle material. When I say material, it constitutes both matter and energy, which are interchangeable as per Albert Einstein's famous equation E=mc². Yet, we are not complete. We are material plus something else which makes life. The fundamental constituent which makes all the difference between life and non-life forms is called soul. Does this soul really exist, or is it an imaginary thinking? This video is aimed at detailing what makes us complete. We have heard about Big Bang Theory, which reveals the various timelines of formation of universe. As shown in the pictures from literature of science, it all started with a Big Bang, and science admits that all laws of physics fail to explain what caused the Big Bang in the first place. Coming to what we see as material, the smallest particle as on date is called quarks. At some point of time, it is believed that atom is indivisible. With development of science, it is established that atom is divisible into protons and neutrons, which form nucleus, and electrons orbiting around the nucleus. Now it is believed that quarks are fundamental particles with which the matter is made. It is highly likely that with further advancement in science, quarks also may be divisible if we take a clue from precedents. Logically, the more the advancement in science, the smaller the particle we are able to establish. So the journey continues and never ends as long as scientific endeavor of humanity thrives. We know that spirituality started much earlier than science. Our ancient scholars made lot of in-depth studies in spirituality and established that there are forms of matter subtle in nature which manifest prana, mind and intellect. Further to that, they have also vehemently declared that there exists soul which is non-material and which is fundamental to life and existence. Long back before science has even started, spiritual gurus have spelt out soul as the ultimate indivisible entity and the most subtlest of all. I would rather put it in a way that soul is the fundamental particle in universe and beyond. It is so subtle that it can be called as non-material. In a continuous chain of finding smaller particles, we have to end up somewhere which is the most subtle, indivisible entity and which is everywhere. This is the very definition of soul. This leads to the thinking that material is gross form of soul, however small it may be, until it attains the status of soul. That means the material is broken down to the level it becomes the most subtle and fundamental particle, which is soul itself. The corollary of the same is when soul attains grosser and grossest form, it becomes stone or rock or anything harder. Even if it is viewed from a scientific angle, everything what we call it as universe has generated from singularity with a Big Bang and the inflation that followed. That means that everything has come from a single source and manifested differently as we see in the evolved universe as on date. So to say that both science and spirituality are complementary in nature, and even some renowned scientists have acknowledged this truth. It is said that God sleeps in rock, wakes up in trees, walks in animals, thinks in human beings. In other words, it is the unity everywhere and duality exist in its state of existence only. Our forefathers have said God is everywhere. We are also taught in spirituality that the so-called God is soul of souls. If we believe on this, then material, both matter and energy, also must be part of that soul. You cannot separate material as not being part of God. This is the meaning portrayed through Ardhanareshwara, indicating that Prakriti and Purusha, Shakti and Shiva, are one and the same with unity in diversity. This is also the essence of life and combination in life. It is ever in existence and will exist forever. Shiva, Purusha represents static tattva and Shakti, Prakriti exhibits dynamic tattva. Since Prakriti is dynamic in nature, it is subjected to changes in a continuous time flow, and when conditions become favorable for coexistence of soul and material, it forms life with varied life forms. This is one of the underlying concept of Shivlingam. When the favorable conditions cease to exist, the coexistence ends and the result is death. View the videos on life for details. In nature we see what is big has started with small and has grown to become big. Even the universe we see now has started with singularity and has grown big and continues to grow bigger through expansion as declared by our scientific community. Invariably what is big, however big it may be, cannot remain big forever, and at the end of the cycle it goes back to its original state, that is small. The small is the smallest with which everything is made through accumulation, and that smallest is called fundamental particle. When we say it is fundamental particle, it implies that it cannot be broken further, and by chance it can be broken, then it is not fundamental particle and we are mistaken. It is stated above that soul is the fundamental particle. So prior to Big Bang, which is the start of a cosmic cycle, the so-called material has gone back to its original status through disintegration and has existed as fundamental particle, which is soul. In other words, everything existed in the form of soul, which science cannot see. It is a common belief that soul departs, leaving the body behind at the time of death. So far it is a distant dream of science to know what it is. So it is a fair assumption to say that prior to Big Bang everything existed in the form of soul. We have seen earlier that soul in its fundamental form is static. So it can be ascertained that cosmic cycle was in static state prior to Big Bang. How long it has been in that state prior to Big Bang is beyond the horizon of human mind and intellect, since time and space were not prevalent prior to Big Bang according to science. What caused the Big Bang is also opaque to human mind. With Big Bang, the dynamic cycle of cosmic evolution has started with inflation and accumulation over a period of 13.7 billion years, with formation of stars and galaxies in which we are part of a life combination of soul and material. Science is certain that the present dynamic cycle of cosmos will end at some point of time, but the method of transition to its original status is anybody's guess. Scientific community has made great strides in achieving modern civilization to humanity in general and unearthing the secrets of nature in particular, be it in micro or macro scale in various fields. Still efforts are made to unearth the deeper secrets of nature through Large Hadron Collider. But science has limitations, since human mind has limitations of reach with external world. It is said that man is materialistically nothing but spiritually everything. Scientific community can go a long way forward in finding smaller particles than quarks, but it is a distant dream to find the fundamental particle. We know that gross can be easily seen compared with subtle. We can see stars in the sky with our naked eye, but we cannot see bacteria surrounding us. Of course, with aids such as microscopes and telescopes we can see more than what we can see with our eyes alone. But even to see that we need instrument of vision, which is our eye, and that is subtle. We know that the vision of an eagle has much more reach than the eye of a human being. What I mean to say is, that which is gross can be seen with fine, but that which is fine cannot be seen with gross. Any amount of aids which are gross in nature will not have any purpose without the vision of the eye. So in order to see the soul, which is the finest or subtlest, we have to have something finer or equally finer. So we can find soul with only realization of our true nature, which is soul itself. This has been demonstrated by our great saints through spiritual means. Spirituality is a subject of exploring the inner world, and there are any number of enlightened people who have taught about the means of realization through exploring the inner nature of our soul using aids such as subtle material like prana, mind, intellect, and gross material, namely our physical body. This is where spirituality matters. While modern medical science deals with the physical body and gross energy systems, spirituality is a medical science dealing with finer aspects, forces of life. Prana, mind, intellect, and soul are finer and finest aspects of life. When a patient enters coma, it crosses the barrier of modern medical science, and doctors are helpless to revive the same at this point of time, as per my knowledge. Pranayama tames the breathing process and enables us to feel the finer aspects of prana, namely nerve currents. Meditation helps us to control our mind, which is highly volatile, through control of prana, as it is prana which drives the mind also. A controlled mind, which is in line with Dharma, is never in confrontation with intellect. With all this and persistent sadhana, one can raise the Kundalini Shakti in the process to achieve mukti, which is realization of our true nature, and that is what we call it as soul, our truthful existence. Today, tomorrow, this life or next life or some time in future births, every human life has to achieve this state of truthful existence, and that is the design and programming of God. Transform yourself for a better tomorrow through our videos.